Deploying the Navy's heavy hitters to where they're needed most requires a heavy-duty transport, like the fleet's latest addition, the Anvil Asgard.
So, this little audio clip that may or may not exist is what I'm talking about in today's video. I don't have any new leaks or any information, this is purely speculation, so please take this whole thing with a bucket of salt. Now, there are a couple of important pieces of information to get from this. One, the manufacturer is Anvil, and two, it will carry some vague amount or size of vehicle or ship. Now, there's a couple of reasons why this doesn't make a ton of sense. One, Anvil already has the Liberator and the Valkyrie, which both do these exact things. And so, what people are thinking is that it's just a variant of an existing ship, which I think is also the case. But I do not think it's the Valkyrie, which is kind of the going theory at the moment, and I'm going to explain why. Obviously, looking at this diagram, the Valkyrie is mostly cargo bay for vehicles, and in terms of the vehicles it can carry, there aren't a ton of options. Really, the main thing is an Ursa rover. It can only carry one of these, and it's a pretty tight fit. It cannot carry the Storm, it cannot carry the Ballista, it cannot carry the Nova. And in terms of ships that fit in there, you have the Fury and the Archimedes, and that is essentially it. So to me, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that this would be the ship they're making a variant of, because there's not much to change here. You could maybe get rid of the drop seats, and that would increase the cargo bay area, but that doesn't change the size of the door. So even if you have all of that room for more vehicles, you're only carrying more Ursa rovers or smaller, which isn't that significant, and because we already have the C2 in game, I'd see absolutely no reason to buy this ship or to use it for literally anything. However, there are a few reasons why it makes sense. For one, the Valkyrie has been getting a lot of attention recently. The HP was buffed from 40,000 to 90,000, and the cargo was buffed from 30 to 90 SCU, which is a huge change, and it shows that they're suddenly starting to care about the ship. Usually they only do that when they're going to add another variant that they want to sell. So in that sense, it kind of makes sense why this would be the ship, but I just don't see it increasing its value in any way, or being able to complete its job any better than the existing one already does. So this is going to be my theory, the Carrick. You might be wondering, what the hell does the Carrick have anything to do with this? And I think what they're going to do is they are going to take these cargo modules, level them out, and basically just make it a big vehicle bay. There are a few reasons I think this. One, they have recently started messing around with the Carrick a little more, and they actually gave it new drop-down cargo bays so that you can actually load stuff in there. Now, it's not a perfect solution yet, they don't even go down to the ground, but it's at least a sign that they're working on something with the Carrick, so that's, I guess, a little bit of information that might help. And outside of that, in terms of just carrying out this task, the Carrick has a lot of room. The SCU on this thing isn't great, but it already has a decent vehicle bay that can fit decently large vehicles. So if they just modify the bottom part of this ship a little bit, and essentially just open all of it up, take out all the walls, I can see it being a relatively successful vehicle carrier. But there are still a few problems with this. The Carrick is essentially a generalist ship, so it has a ton of things that you can't really get rid of. Like, you don't want to get rid of the medical bay, you don't want to get rid of the hangar, and outside of those things, there's just a lot of living space and engineering sections that you can't remove either. So even if you hollowed out that cargo bay, you're not getting a ton of usability. You're not really going to fit any ships in there. You might be able to carry a Storm or a Nova, but probably not even two of them, so that's not going to be super useful. But I'd be very hard pressed to believe they'd add yet another big concept ship when right now that is not something people are happy about. Yes, they got away with it with the Ironclad, but that's only because they said they'd be working on it right after the concept release. So adding something like another Carrick variant would be maybe a little more palatable to people, but I still don't see it being super useful for anyone. So here is the final option, a brand new ship. This concept was made by Brep over on Reddit. It's a pretty interesting and detailed model that he put a lot of effort into, so I would check out the original post and give that some love if you can. But essentially, this is the middle ground between the Valkyrie and Liberator, which in my opinion is the segment that makes the most sense if they're going to add a brand new ship. So obviously, this thing is kind of a drop ship more than just a straight carrier, so I don't know if this is really what it's going to look like in the end. But I definitely think that the sizing is right. I think they're definitely on the right track. In terms of the way it looks, it's pretty interesting and definitely ties together a lot of the Anvil elements. The ability to carry an Atlas platform is the biggest part of this that makes a lot of sense to me. If you're going to add a new carrier, you have to be able to carry the largest vehicles in the game. Otherwise, I don't really see a reason for people to care, because we just already have ships like that. However, the C2 is the only vehicle in the game that can reliably carry the Atlas, so having another option for that would make a lot of sense to me, because the C2 is one of the most popular ships in the game, for that reason. Obviously, it's also a really good cargo transport, and you can just do basically anything with it, but having something that can just carry these vehicles is also just super useful. I think this design is pretty solid. I don't think that the bottom floor would limit the amount of space for vehicles. I think most of it would be taken up for vehicle space. But outside of that, I totally see this being the design that they'd go with. So I am kind of hoping for something like this in a way. I think it would be really interesting and a great way to add more diversity to the segment. But at the same time, we don't really need another ship this big added to the backlog. It's really not a great idea in my opinion for publicity, and it's not exactly a ship we're in dire need of. What we really need right now, actually I'll talk about that in my next video, but the point is, this is not a necessary ship, and I don't really see this benefiting CIG to release it for concept sale at Invictus. So I don't know, this whole thing is a bit of a mess. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. If it is a Valkyrie variant, I don't see the point. There are better ships for the task, 100%. If it's a Carrick variant, fine. I still don't think people would buy this over the normal Carrick just because it would lack some of the usability there. And in all honesty, I think people would prefer to just have an open cargo bay here anyways, so they would just be mad that they added a variant instead of just fixing the Carrick. So that's a whole other point of contention. So overall, I don't really know what they're planning on doing here. I don't really see any good options, but let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for this ship? Are you disappointed that they're gonna add something new to the concept list? I don't know what you guys will think, so I'd love to hear about that. And yeah, I don't know. This is a bit of a weird one for me, and I guess we will see how this pans out in the coming days. Thank you for watching, and have a lovely day.